There are countless monsters in horror works, including erotic movies disguised as horror movies. To do this, the filmmaker also incorporates sex scenes, sometimes impossible but extremely interesting. Today, let's take a look at 5 lewd monsters, specializing in stalking and raping the main character. 5. Sill, species 1995. A research team led by Xavier Fitch, they did genetic experiments from alien DNA and created Sill. Sill looks like a normal person but grows into a 12-year-old in just 3 months. Sill's rapid and dangerous growth led scientists to consider her a threat. They tried to kill her with cyanide gas, but she managed to break out of the cell and escape. The government has assembled a team to track down and destroy Sill. Sill matured quickly, turned into an adult, and set off for Los Angeles. Her physical strength, regenerative abilities, and intelligence make it extremely difficult to track her down. The pursuit and destruction of Sill is the top goal to protect humanity against this dangerous creature. However, to do that is not easy. Sill wandered around gambling, determined to find himself tall, healthy guys to maintain the breed. However, those carrying the disease will not be selected. Natasha Henstridge, actress, plays Sill. She is a model with a sexy and hot body. Her greatest pleasure is incessantly having sex with men, getting pregnant and then killing the lover who planted the seed. In the form of rape and then kill. After having sex in the pool, killed. Improper kissing is also killed. After riding a horse, killed. That's how scary it is when women have power in their hands. Although Species has an unlikely plot, Natasha's charms, eye-catching sex scenes, and Sill's eerie killing style with a long tongue still keep audiences hooked. 4. Snowman, Jack Frost 1997. Coming from a criminal background, there is nothing that Snowman can't do. Robbery, murder or rape. But where does a snowman with 99% water body get that stuff to rape? First, let's take a look at the origin of this super crazy and funny snowman. On a snowy December night, a government transport vehicle passed through the town of Snowmonto. The truck crashed into a tank truck specializing in genetic research. After the accident, Jack Frost, a death row inmate, quickly removed the chains and cuffs on the car. But then his body was exposed to chemicals from inside the genetic research vehicle, causing him to melt into the snow. Then, the peaceful town suddenly appeared a serial killer snowman. The genetic research company concluded, the snowman was created by mutant Jack Frost. They also let people know that the human soul exists as a chemical. And make him immortal, as well as change his form from liquid to solid. This made everyone very afraid of Jack Frost. Just like other B-rated horror movies, sex is an integral part of Jack Frost. The flirtatious Jill was getting ready to shower clean with her boyfriend, when Jack Frost liquefied himself to reach the bathtub. Jack dissolved his body and then mixed into the water. Once he got close to Jill, he returned to his original body and raped her to death. However, he did not turn the snow into something for sex, but used the carrot on his nose as a temporary penis. 3. Dren, Splice 2008. If incest would have been a terrible thing. But has anyone thought about the monster raping both its father and mother? Genetic engineers Clive Nicoli and Elsa Cast hope to achieve fame by crossing DNA between animals to create hybrid organisms. Their work originally created Fred and Ginger. After allowing them to mate successfully, Clive and Elsa plan to create an animal-human creature that could be a scientific revolution. Despite being banned, the two secretly pursue their own intentions. They eventually created the monster Dren. It is a female child. Elsa calls Dren a daughter. She and Clive take Dren to an isolated farm, after Dren attacks people. Their Dren develops a tendency to be carnivores, and has a pair of retractable wings. Dren enters adulthood and begins to get bored of being locked in a barn. Clive also discovered that the user's DNA to create Dren belonged to Elsa. After Dren kills her pet cat with the stinger on her tail, Elsa restrains her roughly and amputates the stinger. While alone with each other, Dren uses her pheromones to seduce Clive and has sex with him, much to Elsa's horror. After arguing, they return to the farm to terminate Dren, but find her dying. They buried it behind the barn. However, Dren comes to life and transforms into a winged man. The sex changes, the monster Dren captures Elsa and rapes his mother. Before being killed by Clive, Dren successfully mated and made Elsa pregnant. 2. Ghost Tree, Evil Dead. The story of a carnivorous ghost tree is no stranger to horror movie fans, especially the devil named the Ghost Tree. The 2013 film is a remake of the 1981 original. It is that remake that has created an indelible name and imprint in the minds of viewers. If Evil Dead 1981 was the beginning of the inspiration for the story of the Ghost Tree, the 2013 version was a resounding success, dwarfing the original. If it's just pure scares, Evil Dead is no longer the most sought-after name. People know this story because of its attractiveness. Such questions will be answered as soon as you begin to learn the story of the Ghost Tree. And suddenly learn that the tree ghost raped the main character in the movie. All versions of the Ghost Tree have this monstrous scene. A tree trunk with vines moves fairly quickly, and has awareness. It quickly fixed the girl's body like a sadistic scene. Then another branch slowly slid down the skirt and poked upwards. Just thinking about this scene makes me feel sick. Not only the Devil Tree, but his Hell Army is equally eager. When summoned by the book, the leader with rotting flesh still tried to grovel the heroine. Horror content and images have made the resounding success of Ghost Tree. It is widely spread and popular in many places, creating curiosity for those who have not seen the movie. 1. Maggots, Galaxy of Terror 1981. If dying for a girl is a pleasant death, perhaps dying for a maggot is a very good death. Yes, you did not hear wrong. A hot girl was raped to death by a giant maggot. On a spaceship, a frightened man finds the corpse of his comrade. Before continuing to follow his teammate, he had already sent out an emergency signal. Elsewhere, on a distant planet, the Quest spacecraft and its crew discover the location of the ship's trouble and decide to help. On the planet, a group of people search for a crashed ship. Here, they have to face monstrous creatures, with huge sizes. Even the most optimists cannot imagine the next scenario happening here. Just slow down or separate from the group. Monsters will suddenly appear and kill them. The characters in the film are quite numerous, but if people are interested in the scene where the lewd monster rapes the heroine, then just pay attention to two people. Quhad, an eccentric guy with superb darts skills. Although technology is advanced, but he is determined not to use a gun, just using a water gun on his body is enough. When everyone learns about the pyramids on this planet, the boss gives Quhad a gun and orders him to guard the entrance. Quhad dropped the gun, insist on using his crystal darts. With some force, these items betrayed their master and returned to attack Quhad, causing him to cut off his arm to preserve his life. Not long after, Daimea discovered that Quhad's arm was now disintegrating. It is being eaten by small maggots. Daimea uses a laser gun to destroy harmless creatures. However, one maggot survived and it grew very quickly to enormous size. The lewd maggot grabbed the poor girl, ripping off her clothes. Although it is a young adult, its sex movements are very professional. Despite Daimea's pitiful screams, sometime later, the team found Daimea's nude body covered in slime. They were forced to burn her body. Video ends here. How do you feel about these horror movies? Please leave your comments. Hello and see you in the next videos.